What's up, everybody? So, I know I've been away for the majority of this week. I appreciate some of y'all who reached out to make sure I was good. I'm good. This is Freya. She is officially 8 weeks old. This is our Tibetan Mastiff Anatolian Shepherd mix. She's going to be a big, big girl. So, I apologize, guys, but I've been working here with this here pupper to try to get her, house trained, leash trained, all that kind of stuff, guys. You got to do that initial training with dogs, and it's been a challenge. But since I've been gone, there's been much to talk about. So let me let this little girl down before she starts getting crazy and wiggling around. All right, y'all. Let's jump into today's topic. While we fitting to clinch the NFC East this weekend. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Hey, if you're new to the channel, so maybe the first, second, third time you caught my content and you enjoyed today's discussion, we're on a journey. We're on a path that crosses over 6,900 subscribers. We're heading towards 7,500 subscribers. I would love for you to be a part of the equation and join the Cerebral football community. You just need you to hit that subscribe button to do that. To my OG subscribers, hat in hand, here to ask you that favor, guys. Hit that thumbs up button, smash the like button, help me spike this algorithm and get this in front of new folks that we could potentially convert into our little audience here on the YouTube. Hey guys, what's good, man? So big important game coming up, right? This weekend, I think this game's going to be a little bit more challenging than what people realize as we take on the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to jump from the start and say that would I love to have Jalen Hurts play in this game? Sure, of course I would. But it's got to be right, man. It's not worth risking him for the duration of something being re-aggravated there, potentially missing, some games in the playoffs. Like, they got to play that thing smart when it comes to Jalen Hurts. But it's not lost on me that Jalen has been particularly successful when playing the New Orleans Saints, guys. I mean, the first win of his NFL career came against that vaulted New Orleans Saints defense back in 2020, to where Jalen Hurts absolutely became a nightmarish problem for them. And Miles Sanders had he had a couple of huge runs in that game. So, that's been a team that Jalen Hurts has been very effective with, right? That defense has had a hard time containing Jalen Hurts, to be honest. So, yes, I would love to have Jalen Hurts in there. But like many of you, I think Gardner Minshew is good enough to beat the Saints. I do. I don't think there's any excuse there. I don't think this game, you can sleep on this game. The Saints are still in the playoff hunt. They have an outside shot at winning the NFC South. And the bottom line is that coaching staff has kind of adjusted to form a game plan around their defense and basically limit what, you have to do around your quarterback. I think that's the bigger part here, is that they're limiting what Andy Dalton is being expected to do. And, they're getting kind of, old school, 1990 style football. You're seeing some two-back set stuff. You're seeing heavy personnel, jumbo personnel. They're bringing in a sixth, offensive lineman. These are things that, honestly, we saw Doug do at times, too. Doug was never shy to bringing in an extra offensive lineman. He did that with Andre Dillard. He did that with a few guys, where he would bring them in and kind of play as a heavy jumbo set kind of line formation. So they're doing some things around, that team to kind of cater to the strengths and limit its weaknesses. But I think this is a game to where you got 2,000-yard wide receivers. You got Dallas Goedert now back in his second game, and he looked completely healthy to me last week. It looked like Dallas Goedert was ready to run with it. He was ready to roll. Not run with it, literally. You know what I mean, guys. But, to me, I think that when you have the offensive weaponry that you have in Philadelphia, and you have a legit backup quarterback. Like, Gardner Minshew is a legit backup quarterback. He's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. He's arguably probably a bottom-end tier starter in this league. Right circumstances, right situation, you could be okay with a guy like Gardner Minshew. So, to me, there's no excuse. If you're the Eagles, hey, man, hats and T-shirts need to be put on following Sunday's game. And that's, kind of what I think is the bigger point here. By any means necessary, get your W and get your guys healthy, because we're missing a lot of production. We're missing a lot of guys, and we need time to get this thing right. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we want him back by the playoffs, guys. I don't think that we need to go into a situation where we need to start bringing people back early when it's not necessary. And it'll become very necessary if you drop this game, because you're going to have to win more than likely that week 18 matchup with the Giants. So, to me, make sure you can rest these guys, right? Lane Johnson's dealing with some stuff. Avonte Maddox is dealing with some stuff. we got some injuries, guys. We got some injuries that are starting to compound. They're starting to add up a little bit here. We still got Jalen Hurts coming back. I think you got to do what you can do in this game, man. This is where I really do wish that the Eagles had developed a little bit more of a power game. And I know that there's different ways of developing a power game, guys. I know as long as you have a one-cut runner that can get downhill, something that Miles Sanders has worked on to his credit, and he's been quite effective with this season. But there's not really that bruiser. I think Trey Sermon could be that guy, but for whatever reason it is, they don't use him in the role. And that role is largely unnecessary with Jalen Hurts in the lineup. But with Jalen Hurts subtracted from the lineup, it would be nice to kind of do some things to get a little bit more jumbo, heavy set, really impose your will on teams, especially when you're trying to close out games, because let's be real, if you had the firepower in the ground, game last week to put that game on ice when you went up 10 twice, pretty much, you probably go on those, 13, 14, 15 play drives that eat, and this offense could do that with Minshew, there's no doubt about it, but they also eat significant amounts of times where you're eating an entire, half of a quarter. Those are the things that make the Eagles challenging in the fourth quarter football games. If they jump out on you and they have a lead, hey, man, it's hard to snatch games away from this team. We don't drop many games where we have the lead in the fourth quarter because our run game is so effective. That's going to be interesting down the stretch, guys. I'm going to probably assume that Lane Johnson's definitely not playing with the nature of the injury right now. It's probably going to take some weeks, guys. Maybe divisional round of the playoffs, guys. We'll see what happens there with Lane Johnson. That's you're subtracting something here, right? Lane's a very effective, especially zone blocking, right tackle. He really works his way up to the second level and cuts and gives you that cutoff so you have that cutback lane. Lane is particularly good at doing that. That's going to be missing from this offense, guys. That's going to be a little off about this offense. So I would love to see these guys with Dallas Goedert back. You got Grant Calcaterra, who really started showing you that he can block a little bit. Grant, he's not the strongest dude in the world, but there's a little ability there, right? We know Jack Stahl's pretty good at that part of the game. Jack Stahl can get a little nasty, man. I saw some clips of Jack really driving dudes down in the red zone and putting them on their backs. Now you got this type of core at the tight end position. I don't know if you could do some things, but maybe try to find ways of sneaking Andre Dillard in there as well. Doing the heavy, give them a little dose of their own medicine. If you get up 10 plus points on them after the second half of the game, get nasty. Get nasty and make them shut down the run game. And it's going to be different, right? Our run game will look different with Minshew. We all know that. To me, that's going to be a huge, huge part of this game. You've got to get nasty with the run game. Put this thing on ice. Let's get this thing clinched up, be able to play our backups next week, get these dudes healthy, and end the season the right way. I think that's important, guys. And I don't want people to miss out on this point. Momentum going into the playoffs matter. They do. Now, you can argue week 18, not a big deal. But what you don't want to do is lose 3 straight to close out the season, only gain the number 1 seed because somebody else couldn't get the job done. You've lost momentum at that point. There's a little hiccup to your giddy up, if you will. You're not flowing. That team is not quite the same as it was. You want to stop that narrative, guys. They need to end that narrative. And I think the easiest way of ending that narrative is by just taking care of business on the Saints. Showing them that, hey man, this team can defend the run, this team can still run the football. Even with the backup quarterback, even without Jalen Hurts in the lineup, we can get nasty. Jeff Stoutland's still in this coaching staff, right? Miles Sanders is still an incredibly good back. Boston Scott's got ability. He's a good change of pace kind of third back. Kenneth Gainwell's not a big dude, but he's a very effective red zone runner, and he's a good downhill one-cut guy. He's not the biggest back in the world. He's not the strongest dude. We don't necessarily have that kind of element to the run game. I think Trey Sermon could be that, but they don't use it in that sense. But with that said, there are other, like I implied earlier, guys, there are other ways through formations and getting jumbo in which you can impose your will without necessarily having a bruising running back. So, that's what I want to see personally, guys. It was nice to see Minshew put up 300 yards against that Dallas defense. I'll admit it. But ultimately, those padded stat things, they don't matter if you don't get a W. That's my thing. And I know we can argue, it wasn't really padded stats, Steve. It was a one-score game. I get it. But what I'm saying is that 300-yard games and all, those look all great on paper. And I think he hit 350 to be real. All that stuff looks great on paper. But what does it matter if you don't walk away with a W? ultimately, when you normally have a huge disparity towards one side or the other, it normally highlights there's some kind of weakness. And I thought last week the weakness was when we got in the red zone, we weren't the same. Like, we're not the same team in the red zone. Still put up 30 points. And I know the defense added 7, so a little debatable there, but still, the team scored 30 points one way or the other. With that said, man, it's got to, it's just like, we got to be able to put this thing away, guys. We got to be able to just take teams' fight out of them. And that's what we were doing earlier in the season. We were just able to take your fight away. Got to get back to that, guys. We got to get back to that brand, that style of football. Hey, don't forget, guys, if you want to support the channel, merch is down below. If you want this particular hat, the black trucker cap with the white lettering and the white shades, this one you have to actually go into the actual, details section. So click on details, expand it, hit more, and you'll see the link for this in that shop. However, if you look below, you'll see the hoodies and stuff are all listed there. It's just that this particular hat comes from a different manufacturer than what's listed below through YouTube. But you can just click on the YouTube one. I do have hats up through that manufacturer. It's just, I prefer this one personally. But maybe you differ on that. I don't know, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all's time and attention. And let's go Birds, guys. We should be NFC East champs by Sunday night. And if that happens, hey, man, we're going to have to do a round table or something, bro. We got to celebrate. We got to celebrate, man. Celebrate these moments. All right, y'all.